Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of No Way Jose, starring the Boston Mass himself, Jose Raymond. Now, from the greatest state in the United States of America, Massachusetts, please welcome the Boston Mass, Jose Raymond. What's up, bro?
Hey, Ron, how are you?
Good. I'm sorry, but not sorry. I miss New England. They're long days, but it is our biggest show that we have all year. I was out west doing my Halloween crap, but it looks like you had a great show, and you actually prepped the overall bodybuilding champion, super heavyweight and overall winner, John Reisfelder. Is that his last name?
Yeah, good job.
John Reisfelder. And the men's physique guy who I met at Gym Hub a couple weeks before that. And this guy's fantastic. What was his name?
John Santelises.
Yeah. I mean, this John guy, I assume he's doing nationals.
I believe so, yes.
He should.
Yes.
He's men's physique. He's got pro written. He's got pro tattooed across his forehead pretty much. And
he's just getting started. He was 183 pounds in May.
Wow.
And then he was over 190 at this show. And he's got a huge frame, so he can pack on even more. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got for sure.
Yeah. So this topic came to mind because coaching is huge in our industry now. Like, 20 years ago, there were no coaches. Now everyone and their grandmother's a coach. I got at my gym, Bayshore Athletic Club, I'd say there's probably about 10 to 20 people who prep people for contests, and then another 20 to 40 who just do online coaching. And some of them are like 20, 21-year-old kids.
Yeah.
So this is why I want to call.
There's more coaches than there are competitors. It is so bizarre.
Yeah.
And now the contest promoters are making more money off these coaches getting backstage passes.
Well, that's right. They charge for that now. That's right.
Of course they do, because everyone and their mother's a coach. So you go backstage and you're just seeing every fucking, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And the promoters are smart because they're cashing in on this nonsense of everyone being a coach.
Yeah. Well, before we get into that, I forgot to mention the promoter of this show was Jay Cutler. He co-promotes with Steve Weinberger, and he was at Gym Hub all weekend training in the So props to Nate Tello at Gym Hub for getting, 4-time Mr. Olympia, Jay Cutler. This is his training home whenever he's in town.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
So what does that tell you?
It's a small facility, so he's not going to get mobbed with people, and he can get his workout in. It's the best equipment by far, as you've seen. Yeah. And Jay certainly appreciates great equipment. He saw a lot of the pieces that he used to see back in the 80s and the early 90s that are in there. And, and it's convenient. Jay stays in the city.
Okay. So
it's absolutely perfect for him. He loves it. And he really likes Nate. And obviously Nate loves him. So it's been great. A lot of encouragement from Jay. Everywhere he goes, he's so gracious with everyone, and spending a lot of time just encouraging people, goofing off and taking pictures, and just being Jay. So it was awesome to have him.
Yeah, you could see that a lot of the people, competitors, were in town for the show, and they were at the gym, and they would catch pictures and videos, and you could tell it was some of these people. It was like made their day, made their year. Here I am. Jay Cutler's giving me compliments, helping me with my posing. It's something, most competitors they'll never get a chance to have something like that happen for them.
Yeah. You know what? There's nobody like Jay. Me and Nate did a little podcast talking about it. And Jay is unlike anyone in the history of bodybuilding. He's separated himself now, just the way he touches people. And it's crazy. There was a young kid at the show who's a super fan, and he shows up to all the events, and he showed up and he helped Jay at his booth. And then when he must have been 20, 21. And when the kid left, Jay gave him a big hug and was like, "Hey, call me when you get home. I want to make sure you got home safe and everything." And people are looking around. He's this, young, skinny kid. And it's just who he is. I could go on all day telling stories about how great Jay is at what he does. And there's so much to be learned from him. Just how he remembers everything. remembers people's names. He remembers your dog's name. He remembers, you know, the job you had last summer. Right? You know, doesn't matter if he's in Germany, Italy, Texas, Vegas, wherever, he's going to remember and remember something about you.
Yeah.
And that makes him different. And he genuinely cares. He doesn't just like put on this fake persona. If you have a conversation with Jay, he's asking you about your life. He doesn't just sit there and talk about himself.
Yeah.
He's asking about your job, and that's how he remembers, you know. He's truly engaged.
I wish I could remember names like that. I'm the worst.
Oh, no kidding, right?
Like, hey, Ron. I'm like, hey, you, yeah. Shit, I'm like, what? Fuck, what was his name? Shit. But anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, I want to help navigate people around this whole prep coach industry, because a lot of people are going to be looking for coaches, because it's a standard thing now. Very few people who compete do so without a coach. I guess 90% of people or more that compete now have a coach. So let's start with the good. What makes a good coach? Because there are some good coaches out there, obviously. We know the big name guys. We know that Chris Aceto, Hani Rambod, Matt Jansen, Chad Nichols, George Farah, Factory. We know the pantheon, guys like yourself. So those are very well established, but obviously not everyone has access to the top names, the top coaches. So for those out there who want to find a really good, solid coach that's going to be a great guide through their contest prep experience, what are some things that they should be looking for? How do you vet a coach?
Well, number one, I want to backtrack a little. You know me, I've always been an advocate of doing it yourself and learning yourself. Learn about your body, how you respond, learn how to diet, learn how to train. And then once you've reached a certain level and you're just in a rut, then start searching out someone who can help you reach where you need to be. And first and foremost, it's not always the guy that has this crazy Instagram following, or the you know, that posts all this stuff and team this and team that, and you know, they're having pizza parties and posing parties, and you know, he comes to the show with 17 competitors. Well, what if none of them win? What if not one of them is in truly great condition? That's got to tell you something. If someone has 100 competitors and one winner, that's not a very good average.
Terrible.
You know, but if someone has 15 and 9 winners, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
You know, you have to look at what is the consistency of that person's people coming in great condition. They don't have to win necessarily, because not everyone has the greatest genetics, but if they're balls on condition, perfect condition for what they have,
yeah,
then that tells you a lot. So, you know, I'm kind of going back and forth here, but I first and foremost, I think people should learn how to do themselves. That way, when you do have a coach, you can give them feedback that makes sense. You guys can work as a team together to bring your physique to the best. It should never be a dictatorship. Just eat this, and you know, and then you have a gluten allergy and you didn't tell them. You know, you have to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
You have to have communication with this coach. If this coach says, I'm going to answer you once a week via email and that's it, then that might be a red flag. You know, obviously I don't want people texting me all day long and calling me, but there has to be a certain amount of communication. Like I said, if for some reason I didn't see your email in a timely manner, text me right away and let me know that I didn't get it. There has to be a certain amount of communication. If you are one of those people that can only respond once a week via email, then you have too many people. You know, are you in it for yourself? Or, of course, everyone's got to make money, but are you truly in it to help these people? Or are you just trying to compile as many people and collect as much money as you can? In which case, that's another red flag. That's not who you want as a coach.
Yeah.
It's just, there are so many, Ron. You can ask me specific questions, or I'm just going to ramble all day.
Yeah. How many clients do you think, if you're a prep coach and this is all you do, maybe you train clients like yourself, you train people in person and you're a prep coach, how many clients do you feel you can take on and still give them individual attention before it becomes impossible? Like I see people that have 100 clients for contest season. Like, how can you possibly be making adjustments and giving personal attention to all those people? It doesn't even seem possible.
Well, they don't. You know, if you ask any of my clients, I do either in-person posing with them, or I do Skype posing with them, or FaceTime. I include every aspect of when they say, what does this price offer? I mean, it offers everything of getting you ready to be your best in a competition. You know, I can't handle more than 20 to 25 people at a time, tops.
That's a lot.
Tops. I really couldn't. I just wouldn't have time in the day between training people and doing, you know, anything else I need to do. There's not enough time. Now, some would say, well, you need to learn to organize better, you know. No. In order to spend the right amount of time with people, there's no way I could handle 100, 200, 300 clients. That's madness. Yeah. And I understand, you know, these people that do have them are up at 3 a.m. and you don't go to bed till midnight. You know, they're all nonstop on their computer, but it's just not a life that I would want to live. And again, it doesn't give me the time that I would want with a client. And again, I think personal relationship should be and is very important to the development of the client. They need to be able to be comfortable with you and say whatever they need to say and ask very important questions. And if it's strictly email, you're not gonna have that. I need to be able to look in their eye and know that I'm genuinely there and I'm invested in it, and I want to see them do their best.
Yeah.
And if they can't communicate, again, I always tell them, please don't bombard me with text, but if you need to reach me, feel free to reach out. I don't want you waiting when we could have nipped it in the bud sooner. So we need to communicate. And to be honest, every client of mine, I'm in contact with numerous times a week. And as it gets closer to a show, it's daily. So, you know, could you imagine getting 100 emails a day? Or multiple 100 emails or text messages a day?
Yeah, I can imagine it, but it would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, another thing about keeping your client base manageable size is you are giving custom diets, cardio routines, protocols to all these different people. Because I have heard stories where this, especially going back a few years, with there were some famous women who had huge teams of like bikini competitors, huge. You know, they would show up like 100 of them at the Nationals or the USA or something. Mm-hmm. And some of them eventually found out they were all getting the same exact diet, same exact workout, same quote unquote supplement protocols. Mm-hmm. They were paying thinking they were getting something specifically designed for them. And they were just getting mm-hmm. something that everyone else was getting. And that's how you can have 100, 200 clients when you're just sending them all the same shit. So you're doing what this girl, that girl's doing, and that girl's doing, and that, regardless of your training experience. Food, you know, obviously you should, if you have food allergies, that has to factor in, or else, you know, maybe you'll die if you have a nut allergy and they have you eating like almond butter every day or something.
Yeah. But so to defend that, you know, I use the same products, not same, but similar protocol. There's certain supplements I believe in. There's certain cardio routines I believe in. There's certain carb intake, you know, there's a certain method and protocol that I believe in that is going to be similar. But, you know, for example, I dieted Laura for the New Englands, and she won bikini. And she was eating more than Big John.
Really?
Yeah, she was taking in 150 to 200 grams of carbs a day, just because her metabolism is wild. And she'd be asking me, are you trying to sabotage me or something? I'm like, no, I'm trying to keep you from being scrawny. A lot of these girls come in so scrawny and unhealthy looking, and that's not bikini. That's not what it should look like. They should be nice and round and a decent amount of muscle on them with good condition. And but the point is, yeah, if you compare notes with a fellow teammate, and it is exactly to a T from the minutes to the timestamp on the email, then you're getting a bulk cookie cutter thing. And not only is that bullshit, but that is fraudulent, and I would ask for my money back right away. And I'm not even a big into my money back thing, because I've only done that once or twice in my entire life, where I was one kid, I was just so fed up with the way he talked. He'd be like, I'm a fucking fighter, I'm a UFC guy. And I'm like, dude, what are you saying? You want to fight me? Because you whatever. So I'm not even into that.
Yeah.
But I would definitely stray far away from anyone that is known for giving cookie cutter, programs that are just printed out and handed out. Yeah. I don't even know how you could do that. How do you look at someone? What if you had a 300-pound girl that needs to drop weight versus a 100-pound girl that needs to put some weight on? You give them the same plan?
I think a standard protocol for coaches that don't know what the hell they're doing with women is they'll starve them. They'll put them on like 1,000 calories a day. They'll they'll put them on 2 hours of cardio a day.
Yeah.
And then, Clen, T3, Anavar. Of course, they're going to lose a ton of weight. That's any human body, when you take all the calories away and boost up the activity and throw in those drugs. But like you said, that's not what if someone's got a faster metabolism, a slower metabolism. And I think a mark of a good coach is they can not only make adjustments based on the person, but they can answer questions. Because I've heard this from people saying, I asked my coach, why are we doing this? And they never just listen to me. I know I'm the coach. They don't have they never have any really explanations for why they're having them do this or take that. It's just, this is what I'm telling you to do. Just do what I say.
For the most part, I'll tell people exactly what I'm doing. But I did have one guy that coaches people out of your gym. And he came to me and I knew exactly what he was doing. And every single thing he would ask, why would I take this at this point, at this time? How much of that, and I knew exactly what he was doing. Next thing you know, he's coach, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's what, so I'm very weary. Of course, I'll tell people that I know are genuine and just, but I'm not going to sit here. I don't have time either to sit all day, tell you what to do, then explain why to do it and explain the chemical process and the scientific explanation. Like, I don't have time for that. Yeah. You didn't hire me to educate you. You hired me to get you in shape.
Yeah. A lot of your former clients have become coaches. A lot of clients, I've seen a ton of people go from client to coach within like one show. So they do like one show and I'm a coach. I'm a prep coach.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially because I don't have a lot of clients. But the ones I coach win, and I have such a laid back relationship with them. I make it so easy. It seems so simple that they're like, oh, Jose's a retard. If he can do it, I can do it. It has nothing to do with that. It's first of all, do you even know what you're looking at? Do you have the vision to create what you're trying to create? I take physiques that I can see that are like, they're not there, but they could be. And over 8 months or a year, it starts to come to life. This kid, John, is blown away. The kid that won the men's physique. Because I immediately told him, I knew what his coach was doing with him. He told me, and it made absolutely no sense. And I'm like, you look really good. I'm like, if he didn't do that, you would have been a lot better, a lot closer to winning your coach actually sabotaged you.
Can you tell me what it was? Because now you got me so intrigued.
Well, he had him on all this and that and this and that, and then 4 weeks out, took him off everything.
Like everything?
Yes. I'm like, what's the point?
I could see you like taking out certain things and going, it's standard procedure to take out certain things and then go to fast.
Well, there you go, Ron. That's precisely what's wrong with coaching, is standard procedure. There's no such thing. There is no such thing. If your guy is huge, full, ripped, peeled, and you're like, nope, it's standard procedure. I'm taking GH out. I'm taking out tests. Got to take it out. That's what Joe Schmo said at, 2 weeks to 10 days out. Got to take out the test. He holds water, but this guy's not holding water. Well, yep, he's inflamed. He can be even harder. Yeah, take out the growth. Why? Why? If he's not affected by it and he looks huge, full and round and peeled and dry, why would you change anything just because it's standard protocol? There's no such thing. Everybody responds differently. Everybody, you're going to ruin a lot of physiques by doing standard protocol.
I mean, even, getting back to something as simple as carb intake, you've worked with guys who need a lot of carbs or else they flatten out and they shrink, while there's other guys like Big John is competing at over 250. You had his carbs down to what toward the last few weeks?
100.
I mean, a lot of people would say that's crazy. It's crazy. He's gonna shrink down to nothing, but clearly he didn't shrink down to nothing. So
I laugh at the carb ups. This one local kid posts on his Instagram, starting my carb up Monday. I'm like, what? Like, why? I don't even carb up my people. I'm like, Thursday, it might be higher carbs than they typically have. Big John, I think he had 200 or 250. And then back on Friday, he was back down to 100, 150. And then we taper down. And then the day of the show, we were eating very little.
Yeah. Let's talk about teams for a minute here, because that's become a huge thing. And I'm going to go at it from both sides. I'm not going to just come ripping apart the whole team concept. I know that a lot of people, when they're getting into this, especially because now we have so many newer competitors, people don't wait as long to compete as they did in years past, I don't think. And I think they're intimidated by the whole process and the idea of doing it on their own. And it can be a lonely endeavor getting ready for a contest. So if you feel like you're a part of this group and you're all doing it together, and maybe the coach does have the meetup every week or every other week, and they have these dinners and posing sessions and group workouts, there's a sense of camaraderie and they feel like, oh, we're all in this together. And it's not just me suffering on my own, and they support each other and say, wow, you look so great and this and that. But at the same time, so that's a good thing. I think that can be a good thing for a lot of people, because it gives them a sense of belonging and it takes away the whole solitary aspect of it. But on the other hand, this is not a team sport. You're up there by yourself. There's not a team trophy, as far as I know. I think that for the most part, you're up there all by yourself in your division, regardless of how many other people from your quote unquote team are in the show with you. That really has no impact on the final outcome of the show. I've never seen you have a Team Boston Mass hoodies or anything like that. Or you could easily have Team Boston Mass if you wanted to. Why have you never done that? Or do you think it's a dopey idea or a good idea?
No. I think, there are actually a couple local coaches that are very good at that. They create an environment that actually brings them more business, because, people want to be part of that little clique, but they don't have huge success. And I think that's why I don't do that, because the whole team thing takes away from the individual. Someone's not paying me to put them on a team, and then spread the attention. I want to put all my focus into that one person, and make them feel as though they're getting all my attention. And, of course, if you had a ton locally, and you could schedule a time to work on them together. So I do have, I would pose John, I would pose Roberto. Roberto won the Masters bodybuilding, and he's incredible. you know, I would schedule like 3 of them right after each other, and they would sit and watch each other pose. So one would have something the other didn't, and they can learn from each other and learn by watching. Sometimes it's hard to learn visually while you're doing it yourself.
Yeah.
But if you sit and you watch, so that's as close as I get to team. And then I would introduce them and say, hey, when you're backstage, can you look out for each other? If someone needs something, yeah. But you know, that's about it. I'm not big in promotion. I need to start promoting myself a little more, because there's so many people that reach out to me and are like, I had no idea you coach people. I'm like, dude, I've been doing that for 30 years. I guess I just never, I think the more people do it on Instagram and the reels and Facebook, and the more they it's fake to me. It's like, if you have to tell the world how good you are and beg for business, then something's not happening, you know?
We have 2 spots left. Yeah.
Right. That guy.
Only 1 spot left.
Yeah.
Well, if you do start it, since there are so many teams, and I think it is a great marketing strategy, Team Boston Mass, man. Like
Well, my own clients do it. They do that themselves. They'll tag it or hashtag, or, you know, it's funny, it's nice, but
make it happen, Jose. Make it happen.
Yeah, that's not something I've done. It's just, there's so much infighting within the gyms and the training and the coaching culture here. I want no part of that. Like, there's just so many fucking morons that I don't want any part of having some sort of war with people. I do my thing. Please do yours. You know, do your own thing. If people want to train with me, they'll train with me. If they want me to get them ready for a show, I'll get them ready. But I don't need, you know, as soon as you create this team thing, you start having all these idiots come out of the woodwork to try to bash you, and you can try all you want. The proof is in the pudding.
I mean, like I said, if you have 20 people at a show and not one of them wins, versus another coach who has 4 people at a show and like 2 of them are overall winners in their divisions and the other 2 win their classes, which coach was a better coach at the end of the day? You compete to win. You don't compete. Maybe there are a lot of people that compete just to have fun or the experience of it, but I think most people do it are competitive, and they go through all this dieting and training and everything to win, not just to have a good time and sit with all my teammates together and we can all go have pizza and cheesecake after the show together. Yeah.
I don't even think about it. I think, if I were a competitor, would I want someone who did one show and is or even a handful of shows? Or would I want someone who did it for 30 years, competed day in and day out, did over 100 competitions himself, not nationwide, but worldwide, on the world stage, under every circumstance, flying from one country to the next country to, you know, there's no situation that I've never been in myself.
Yeah.
You know, so to me, it's a no-brainer. It may sound cocky, but there's no one, literally no one who has the experience that I have, other than other guys in my field, like Flex Lewis.
Like a Milos or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Milos, yeah. Flex Lewis, you know, but Flex isn't even a coach. Right. But so, you know, it's just a matter of there's so many to choose from. And you know, when you're talking locally, it's so funny. People are like, oh, you know, Jose's way too expensive. All right, well, do the math. Over the course of 16 weeks, am I really that much more expensive? You might pay what, $500 more? Is it worth that? Then you win versus you didn't place, or you know, you got in the best shape of your life versus you didn't. So it's really not more expensive. You pay for what you get. I don't really care. Yeah. It is what it is. It's my time. And I know that I'm going to put in more time than anyone else locally. So
it's the get what you pay for it thing rings true in so many areas, like just personal training. You could pay $20 an hour for some 19-year-old that just got their certification online, and they've been training for like 6 months. What do they really know? They have like very little knowledge and experience versus someone who's been doing it for decades and has been around all the best coaches and athletes, and they have this level of experience and knowledge that's so far superior. Of course, you should pay. You're getting so much more value out of somebody like that. So I think it rings true with the coaching too. One thing I want to ask, so as far as, some coaches have these awesome physiques and they have these great track records as competitors like yourself. Others, some of them have never stepped on a stage, but they're still, or maybe they did a couple of times and they weren't very good. They weren't great. They weren't greatest, but it goes back to, do the best athletes always make the best coaches? And obviously we know they don't, but how do you factor that in? Because some people will look at the coach's physique as a way of deciding, is this a good coach or a bad coach?
Well, unfortunately, that's the world we live in. If you say you're a supermodel and you're ugly as hell, and I'm going to teach you how to be pretty, but you're ugly, then that doesn't make sense. In bodybuilding, it's a little different because it takes years to hone all those skills and to learn every last little detail. And sometimes as you get older, you don't quite look the same. For my money, the best coach in the world is Chris Aceto. And he doesn't have a ton of muscle on him anymore, but he did at one time look fantastic. Hani gets made fun of a lot for having kind of a little bit of a dad bod, but he, Hani competed at one point. I think he's pretty thickly muscled. He's short, thick guy. But you don't need to look like Mr. Olympia to coach an Olympian. But that said, there are a handful that are complete contradictions, a lot, because I do know what you're talking about. There's a lot of coaches that never got in shape, not once. They never put on muscle and they never got in shape.
See, that should be red flags, because obviously genetics are what they are. You're not going to take a person with average genetics and make them into a Mr. Olympia competitor, no matter what. So some of these coaches, even if they had all the great knowledge, they were never going to go that far, just because genetics are a limiting factor in competitive bodybuilding. But I think conditioning is something you should look at, because I don't think genetics limit anyone's ability to get in shape. If you're willing to do the work and figure shit out and learn what needs to be done, I think anybody can get in shape. The end result might not be very pretty, might not have a ton of size, might not have beautiful shape or anything like that. But when I see coaches who compete themselves or have competed and they were never in any kind of condition, that to me, that's a red flag. It's like, you couldn't even get yourself in shape once, and you're charging people good money to get them in shape. How does that compute? If I'm a prospective client, I look at this person and go, he barely even had abs. There's like not one line in his quads, and he's going to get me shredded.
So Ron, I've trained a few of these coaches, and I would say to them, listen, I'm never going to write you a workout because I don't know how you train. You want to come in and train with me? I'll teach you how I want you to do things. And this person who thinks that they're all fucking mighty and they train people and they train like a sissy, like literally, like falling on the floor, flopping, can't breathe, can't do nothing, had every excuse in the book. And I'm like, dude, this is like a 75% workout and you're puking. Like, that's precisely why you're not in shape. You'll probably never get in shape, and you'll never reach your goals because you don't have any balls at all. No heart. You don't train hard. People, it's a sad truth, but I would say more than 75% of people out there do not train hard.
Oh yeah, I agree.
They do not. And if they did, their physique would change drastically.
Yeah. Okay.
And by train hard, I don't mean squat 700 pounds. I mean train at a high intensity for 60 minutes straight without having to video every damn set and set up tripods. And it's not about max weight. It's about pushing your nervous system beyond what it's ever been and doing that multiple times a week. You know, I don't care how much you bench. I want to see how much you can bench 4 sets in a row with only 30 seconds rest, as heavy as possible for 12 to 15 reps, you know, so you got crazy pump. You're not sitting around in between making phone calls and everything else. Yeah. There's a difference between just lifting heavy weights and training hard.
No, just a good example. I see these people that Bayshore has some very heavy squatters, and I see people that can do 600-700 pound squats all the time, every weekend, especially that's like everybody's leg day is like Sunday at that place. I'm not impressed. I am impressed by the fact that they can squat 600-700 pounds, but I'm more impressed if I saw somebody do 405 for 20, because that'll kill just about any human being. That's brutally difficult. That's like your life flashes before your eyes. So the last thing I want to ask about is coaches who compete themselves, sometimes in the same shows as their clients. And I've always wondered, how can you really focus on getting 4, 5, 10 people ready for a show that you're competing in when you're on like very low carbs, you're doing 2 hours of cardio a day, you're in that diet brain fog thing. I would be wary myself of having a coach who is not only actively competing, but competing in the same show as me. What are your thoughts on that?
Most good coaches wouldn't do it. Just wouldn't do it. It's just, it's a conflict of interest, you know? You have to be as sharp as you can be for them, for that person that's paying you to be sharp at that moment. So if you're a mess backstage and you're worried about your own thing, well, this kind of leads us to the Ian and Bumstead thing. Yeah. You know, I think they maturely, as brother-in-laws, came to the conclusion that they cannot be there for each other adequately when one is on stage and the other one needs help, you know. So that's a prime example, you know. See, and it's a very selfish sport. So if I'm competing, I'm not trying to think about what you're eating and looking at you pose or doing your tan. And you know how many of my clients, I've physically done their tan for them. Wow. Because I don't want them waiting last minute to do the spray tan, because I don't trust it. Yeah. If I don't put it on myself, I don't trust it. You know, those are the little things that come with the my coaching is that I want your color to be perfect. I want, you know, there's certain things that I do. I don't let people shave their body. I don't let them use a razor. I mean, you can use a clipper, but that's it.
Really? Why is that?
As a judge, we can't see tiny little hairs.
Oh, dude, I wish I knew this all along. All that,
yeah.
Poor Janet.
And if you use a razor, you're going to break out. Your skin gets inflamed. So you don't do that. Just use a clipper and start your tan on Wednesday. Let it absorb in. So by the time the day of the show, even if you do start sweating, it's not going to pour out of you and streak all down, you know, because the tan is in your skin, not on top of your skin. There's so many little nuances that I know all these idiot coaches don't, you know. No, and I don't want to make it sound like everyone's an idiot. There are some great coaches around. Yeah. That I'm very high fan of in the Boston area, in the New England area, all across the world. But there are also a handful of morons. And unfortunately, there's usually more morons than good.
Well, because like we said, you said there's more coaches now than competitors, and that's almost, I don't know if that's actually true, but it's pretty close. There's a lot. It's because there was a need. People saw that all these competitors or aspiring competitors were coming out of the woodwork, and there was a need for coaches, so they filled that need. But just getting back one for a minute to what you said before about when a really good coach at a contest, it's not about him, it's all about the client. Like I remember talking to Hani, and I'm sure Aceto's the same way. Olympia weekend, Arnold weekend, whatever, if they have a few different clients, they barely sleep and they barely eat like all weekend. They're just going from hotel room to hotel room, checking on this guy, that girl, you know, giving them adjustments. Okay, now you can eat this, do that, take a nap. And they're not focused on themselves, even to the point where they're not sleeping and they're not eating because they're that invested in the client. Whereas if somebody's, you know, like Ian, say if Ian's competing in Olympia, which he is, how much attention can he really be able to give Chris when he's worried about, I got to make sure I eat this meal in 90 minutes and that meal, I got to get my nap in, I got to get tanned, there's so much going on, especially at that level, that I just can't imagine. I don't know how Ian did it this long for Chris and still took him to 3 Olympia titles. So
Yeah.
Props to Ian Valier for that.
Well, that's just how good Chris is.
Yeah, he is. He's pretty damn good.
But you know what? As the division has grown, as people are clearly getting better and better, you know, Terrence is getting better exponentially, Ramondino, among many others.
Yeah.
It's going to get harder and harder if Chris does not continue to improve himself.
Yeah.
So this is the perfect timing. I think they made a great decision, and a very smart one and a very mature one, rather than saying, no, we can do this. You know, the reality is one of them is going to suffer, whether it's Ian or Chris. They're both top Olympians. They're you know, Ian is looking to break through that top 6. You know, he's been through 7, 2 or 3 times in a row. And, you know, so it's a great decision. And it's not possible. As you said, I know Chris, when Chris would come to my room, I'd have to have food or coffee ready for him because he looked like he's going to keel over. And it, you know, it is truly a work weekend for him. And it's not a weekend. Chris usually shows up on Tuesday for a Saturday show. So he can get these people 100%. Yeah, that's the gist of it. Be wary, be very wary. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't necessarily reach out to the coach. Reach out to his clients too.
Yeah.
You know, if you reach out and hear, you know, I won the show, but he's an asshole.
Yeah,
well,
I should have brought that up. I apologize. I should have brought that up much earlier in the discussion. Is don't ask the coach how good of a coach they are. You know, check their Instagram and see who they prep and get a hold of that. You know, I'm just curious. I'm thinking about hiring so-and-so. Can you tell me a little bit about how they operate? And someone might say, you know, I couldn't even get a response on the day of my show. I was asking him, can I eat this or that? He didn't get back to me till like 11 o'clock that night. That would be a red flag. I'd say, forget this guy. This guy's horrible.
Yeah. Don't
So,
check my Instagram because I have no pictures. I should. I'm going to post a couple this week of a lot of my people.
Yeah. You really do not toot your own horn enough. Some people go way overboard. Like every post is a before and after, and here's my client. I don't even know who you coached until like the show's over, and they tag you in their posts. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know he was working with this guy.
Yeah, well, I do that on purpose because I judge, and I don't even judge my people. And that's how the head judge will know that it's my person. I'll hand down all the papers, and then they'll look, and it was a blow away, like with John. Both Johns, it was clear as day, and the guy will laugh.
I'm glad you cleared that up because somebody might have said that in the comments. Jose judges his own client. Said
I do not.
Corruption.
You know,
you recuse.
I could just get up and walk away from the table, but I don't. I just don't judge my own people.
Fair enough. Good to know. Yeah, I think I knew that, but I didn't. I should have brought that
up.
Well,
it's quite easy. If there's 6 judges, there's 7. Including me.
Yeah.
And then if I don't judge my own person, then it's pretty easy. You're still going to get the consensus there.
Even if you did judge your own person, which you don't, and I don't think you should, but still, you're only 1 out of 7 judges. So unless you're like, hey, everybody, number 22 is my guy, first place.
I did judge Nate when he did the New England's, and I voted against him.
Really?
And he probably should have won.
Oh man. Well, I could say I judged my brother. I don't know if you know my brother my brother Steve, my younger brother.
Yeah.
Him and his wife competed at the Venice Muscle Beach show. Why? I don't know. They decided they were going to do the show. And I was a judge that year. She was like, I don't know if I had her last, but I had him last, dead last. And I said, Steve, I couldn't do anything for you, man. You were just everybody looked better than you. So sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You were last. It's an easy decision to make.
Yeah. I don't care if we're the same DNA. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll wrap it up. So you have a new podcast on your channel available, The Boston Mass. You put out a new episode with Nate. We'll check that out. And Instagram guys, it's The Boston Mass, THEE, like Megan the Stallion. She stole that from Jose, who was the original The Boston Mass. Check him out on Instagram. And of course, if you're ever around Boston, you want to go to Gym Hub, greatest gym in the city, awesome equipment, all handpicked by Nate and Jose, who went all around the country for months and months, checking out all the best gyms and all the best equipment. So it was curated personally, because that place has some sick equipment for a small gym. My goodness gracious.
And he's constantly looking. He's constantly looking to swap things, and he's an equipment nerd.
Yeah,
so
I like
he's
that.
Always online sending me stuff that I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that is.
Yeah. So guys, it's gymhubboston.com. I think they have a website.
No, it's mygymhub.com.
Okay, well, it's Gym Hub Boston on Instagram, because most of you guys are on Instagram, you youngsters out there.
Yep.
So I hope everyone got a little taste of how we rate coaches, Jose and I, and if it helps you guide your own decision and find a better coach for yourself and possibly avoid a bad coach, even better. We did our job. So,
and be wary of people that sit and make weird videos about their prepping company or whatever, sitting screaming at the camera. I mean, just be wary. Be ask questions. If people seem strange and bipolar and just really bizarre, then they usually are.
Yeah. I mean, some of that stuff, it's more like they're trying to be more of a life coach, like to try to change your way of thinking, which I guess, that's not a horrible thing. But if that's their emphasis as a coach, is just trying to get you motivated and excited, you should already be motivated and excited as a competitor. You shouldn't need somebody to pump you up every day.
Excitement's not going to get you striated glutes.
Suffering will. All right. Well, that wraps up another awesome episode of No Way Jose. Appreciate you guys watching. It's always a good time with Jose. It's been too long. And I appreciate you taking the time, Jose, very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Good to see you, Ron.
All right, guys. So we'll see you next time on No Way Jose. Thanks for watching.
Peace.
Hey, did you like that video? Smash that like button, subscribe to MD, and please comment down below. Thanks for watching.